You are good to go, Senator.
Great. Welcome. I am Senator Martha Fuller Clark. Today, we will be meeting with the Commission to address child hunger.
It's 11 o'clock.
In New Hampshire. And as you know, I need to read through a checklist to ensure that the meeting that we are holding is in compliance with the right to know law. As chair of this commission, I find that due to the state of emergency declared by the governor as a result of COVID-19 pandemic, and in accordance with the governor's emergency order number 12, pursuant to executive order 2020-04 and its extensions, this public body is authorized to meet electronically. Please note that there is no physical location to observe and listen contemporaneously to this meeting, which was authorized pursuant to the governor's emergency order. In accordance with the emergency order, I am confirming that 1, we are providing public access to the meeting by telephone with additional access possible by video and other electronic means. We are utilizing Zoom for this electronic meeting. All members of the committee and selected legislative staff have the ability to communicate contemporaneously in this meeting through the platform. And the public has access to contemporaneously watch and or listen to the meeting on Zoom, YouTube, etc., and via phone by following the directions and links provided on the General Court website. 2, we have provided public access of the necessary information for assessing the meeting in the Senate calendar. 3, we are providing a mechanism for the public to alert the public body during the meeting if there are problems with access. If anyone has a problem, please email remotesenate@ledge.state.nh.us or call 603-271-3043. 4, in the event the public is unable to access the meeting will be adjourned and rescheduled. 5, please note that all votes taken during this meeting shall be done by roll call vote. And finally, I will start the meeting by taking a roll call attendance. When each member states their presence, please also state where they are and if anyone else in the room with you is during this meeting. This is required under the right to know law. So I will call the roll. I'm just going to go through the people who I see. Laura Milliken. I think you need Laura to unmute.
I'm from New Hampshire Hunger Solutions. I'm in my home in Concord and there's no one else in the room.
Great. Will Sherry, nice to see you.
Good morning, Senator. Good to be seen. Good to see you as well. Bill Sherry from Granite United Way. I'm in my home in Wyndham and I'm by myself.
Mary Lou Beaver.
Good morning, Senator. Mary Lou Beaver from the Children's Place and Parent Education Center in Concord. I am in my office and the dog is with me. That's it.
Sherry White.
Sherry White, New Hampshire Department of Education. I am in my home in Newfields, New Hampshire, and I am in the room by myself.
Joy Barrett.
Hi, I'm Joy Barrett with the Granite State Children's Alliance. I am in my office in Bedford, New Hampshire, and I am alone in my office.
Maureen Burke LaRue.
Hi, this is Maureen Burke LaRue with DHHS, administrator of the SNAP program at home office in Wilmot, New Hampshire.
Thank you. Elise Bolster.
Hi everyone, Elise Bolster here from the New Hampshire Food Bank, and I'm in my office alone.
Representative Mary Jane Wallner.
Hi, Mary Jane Wallner. I'm at my home in Concord, and my husband is in another part of the house.
Great. Claire Bloom.
Claire Bloom from End 68 Hours of Hunger. I'm at my home in Rochester, New Hampshire. My husband is at home, but not in the room.
Great. Susan Winnick.
I'm Susan Winnick from Community Action Program in Concord, New Hampshire. I am in my office by myself.
And I am Senator Martha Fuller Clark, and I am in our house in Maine, and my daughter is with me, but not in this room. So thank you all very much, and we will begin the meeting. And first of all, I would really like it if someone could continue to take some notes for this meeting. That would be very helpful. Is there anyone who will volunteer?
So this is Susan. I'm just finishing up the ones from last week. I have to apologize for just getting to them. I can send them, and I would be happy to do it again and try to get them in ahead of time the next time.
We know it's been a very busy couple of days, if not weeks.
Yeah.
So that's great, Susan. Thank you very much. And I also wanted to let you know that I'm going to have to leave this meeting at around 10 of 12. I have a doctor's appointment that I'm not able to move. So Mary Jane, at that point, would you be able to take over?
I also have to leave fairly early because I have another meeting.
Okay.
So
Well,
you're going to leave at what time are you leaving, Martha? At
10 of 12.
10 of 12. Okay. I have to leave probably around the same time because I have to be at another meeting.
Hopefully, maybe we can just get this done by then, if we're not too conversational. Laura, if you could start, because the whole purpose of this meeting is basically to address the letter that your desire, and we hope will be able to send to the governor.
So we did send the letter. There were 12 organizations that signed on to the letter. I did send it to you, the final copy, and it was sent out on Friday.
Great. So does anybody have questions or concerns? Did everyone get a copy of that letter?
No, but I sent it to you and asked that you send it to the group, but
Okay, well, I'll just make sure that Jen does that. I have not realized I needed to do that. I'm sorry.
I'm happy to track it down, Senator, and send it out all to the commission members.
Okay, great. So we're glad that you went ahead and did it, and that you got the signatures that you needed to give it some extra oomph, if you wish. And maybe you could just share with us the high points and where we should go from here.
So as I am, the text changed a little bit in terms of, address, but the substance was the same. We asked for some support for doing some public awareness so that folks would understand what programs are out there and that they could apply for them. And so that was sort of the public awareness category. We asked for sufficient staffing at DHHS and DOE to be able to assist folks in applying for programs, and especially if we implement pandemic UBT again. We asked for direct support if there are additional CARES Act dollars to be put on people's SNAP EBT cards.
Great. So my question is, do you plan to follow up with the governor's office to make sure they have the letter and that they making sure that the governor is seeing it?
Yes.
Great. Okay. Are there other thoughts or comments at this time?
Laura, didn't you also forward it to the Gopher office?
I did forward the letter to the governor, to the Gopher office as well, to Lisa English.
Great. And have you had some, I mean, she did recognize that she
did acknowledge receiving it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, good, thank you.
So Mary Jane, will you be able to speak to that at the next Gopher meeting?
Well, let's, I can't remember when the next one is. I think it's next week. Let's wait and see what kind of response. Laura, keep me posted on what kind of response you get. And I can always inquire as to whether or not the request has been received and distributed to the Gopher members.
Great. So the other follow-up, does it make sense to send a copy of this letter, Laura, with a note both to the New Hampshire Charitable Foundation and to the Healthy Children's Foundation, just to keep them informed?
Sure, I can do that.
I think that would be good, and maybe just to note if there's any way that you can assist us in this effort, we would be very appreciative.
Okay.
Okay. And what do you think you actually need in the way of dollars?
That's a good question, and I'm not really sure. I think we have to do some further work in that regard. There is also a grant that we're planning to apply for around public awareness in the neediest communities that No Kid Hungry has invited us to apply for. So I'll need to put together those numbers. But if folks have thoughts, I know that the New Hampshire Food Bank already does some public awareness work, and I need to connect with Elise or whomever she tells me about what the scope of that is, so that there's no duplication. We need to be coordinating. There are materials, lots of them, that are available from other states that we can access, but those would obviously have to be tailored to New Hampshire needs.
So have you been able to review those materials to determine which ones you think would be best for New Hampshire and could be easily converted?
So I have some from Vermont, some of which are useful. And I have requested that from FRAC that they send which of the other states are, best. So that's where I am.
Good. But I think that's the right approach to take. We don't need to reinvent the wheel.
Absolutely.
No, and hopefully it would reduce costs. Other thoughts that people have?
This is Joy. I remember the last conversation we had, we talked about the different audiences, obviously the general public being and some awareness around, what's available, but also looking at different agencies that work with this population so that they're aware, so that, the information might be different to them. And I don't know if it makes sense. And this may already be in fact something we have, but a kind of an asset list of all those different agencies that work with families, so that we're again providing information to them so that they can best support people. I mean, CACs can be included in that. We actually now have family support specialists at all our CACs, and although we help families navigate, a different system, we also end up identifying different needs that they have in their family, and food insecurities can be them as well. So, we're happy to have these resources in our folders or be able to provide some help with getting people enrolled as well.
Great. So I think it will be important to make sure that in looking at, and I would think if it's possible, Laura, just tell me, but if you identify a couple of resources or templates from other states, if it would be possible for you just to spend some time to reformatting those so that they are directed to New Hampshire. If you understand what I'm saying, just see how you could edit them so that they would be appropriate for New Hampshire, and then maybe share them with everybody. Here's what you're thinking is a good approach. Here are some materials that have been modified to go to New Hampshire, and if you could share them with the other people on the commission to get any feedback from them, so that if we are able to rather quickly uncover some financial resources, we're ready to go. So that we're not,
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure it's the best use of time for me to do the formatting. Often, flyers and things are in a language that my computer can't even read. So, but I think what we can do is sort of put together, what are the key pieces that need to be a part of these public awareness tools, and
that would be great.
Yeah.
Okay. Other thoughts? Will, I'm interested in hearing from you about the issue that we have with how do we partner with schools to be able to get this information out to families in our schools, and who should we be reaching out to facilitate that? And maybe Sherry too.
So your question is, how can we partner better with schools to encourage them to better use the federal dollars that are available? Is that what you're asking?
No, more is to use them as a conduit to get the information out.
I see.
To everyone to know that these programs are out there, that there's a change in the waiver system and whatever else is going to go into those marketing packages. But we need to make sure that the schools may help us market this to families and individuals that are eligible.
Yeah, I think Sherry's opinion would be very important.
Great, Sherry.
So, Senator, yes, the Department of Education can certainly reach out to superintendents and business administrators so that the information can be disseminated via the schools. That won't be a problem.
Great, great. Okay. Bill, did you have anything to add?
Nothing specific, Senator. I think that just, channeling the information through school districts is probably the most, my experience. Well, my kids are out of school now, but I could just remember the multitude of notices that would come home in backpacks and, other ways, but getting it delivered to the students and to the families through the school systems infrastructure is probably one of the most effective that I could think of.
Okay, great, thank you. Anything else with regard to this attempt to launch a marketing program that anyone wants to add?
I think the community action agencies would be a great place to get the materials out to all the families that we serve. And the other thing I'm thinking of is through the TFAP program, that, and also the food bank as well, has a relationship with all the food banks in the state, so that getting these materials to the food banks, oftentimes people are going to food banks but not accessing other resources that they're eligible for, that would be a really good way to get information out in the community. And I know our agency can help with that. Our community action network can help with that.
Great. So I'm just thinking, Mary Jane, when you speak to this at the next Gopher meeting, I think that it's good to at least underline that, we have a number of ways to be able to disseminate this information. What we're in need of is the money to be able to produce the materials in order, and we need that to do that quickly. Now that we know that this program is going to be in existence up through June of 2021, I just think it might be helpful in your conversation that you say, we've been in touch with a number of different agencies and groups who are willing to help disseminate, but we need to get the funding to produce the materials.
Yeah, okay. It would be really good though if we could have some estimate of what it is that we need financially.
I would agree what is needed.
Because at Gopher, that has been a big drawback quite often, is that groups have great ideas and they come in and present them to us. But then there isn't a really clear ask. And then what happens is a Gopher member sort of decides, well, let's give them $5,000 or let's give, and then they, there's all kinds of discussion about, well, where did that come from? That's, you've got to have some facts to back up any sort of financial ask.
So Laura, will you be able to have that in place and get that to Representative Wallner within the next week?
I will do my best.
It probably should actually, it can come to me, but it should probably be sure to go to Lisa at the Gopher office.
Okay.
Okay. And to the governor's staff. I mean, they need to know also how much are we talking about? Are we talking about, $50,000? Are we talking about $5 million?
And excuse me, but am I correct that what we're talking about is the production cost of a one-page flyer front and back? I mean, is that what we're asking for?
I think that's one of the tools. I mean, I think there are a number of tools, and I think they should be targeted. So there are child nutrition programs that are available through the schools, and there are and then there are programs to which you need to apply to DHHS. So I think that we might do a range of tools. Ideally, yes, obviously, a single flyer with everything you might be eligible for would be a great thing to have.
Okay, so it seems to me that we're talking 40,000 hungry children in New Hampshire. The general rule of thumb is 1 in every 5. So we're talking 200,000. I mean, this is literally off the top of my head. Sherry would probably know better than me. 200,000 copies of whatever document we produce front and back. So, I mean, getting that number for copies of information is probably not that difficult.
Right, but I think, and then, and I'm not sure it's just front and back. It may be more than front and back, but, within, let's say, 2 to 4 pages, depending on how it's configured, folded, whatever. But I have no idea what it costs to produce 100,000 of those, what it costs to produce 200,000 of those. So I think knowing what would be the ideal number to have, and then what would it cost to produce that. And then it also seems to me that we talked a little bit about trying to do some other promotion. Are you talking about maybe doing a public service announcement? And what would that cost, and how often might you run it? I think just figuring out, the different ways that you want to get this information out there, and what is the general cost associated with that. Mary Jane, help me. I don't think it has to be an explicit budget. I think it has to be more like a bulk request that is reasonable, but will allow us to accomplish what needs to be accomplished.
Right. I think you don't have to have it down to the very penny, every detail of what you would spend, but I do think we've got to have something that is in the ballpark of what we think it would cost, and some facts to back that up. How many pieces of mail would be dispersed?
And I
would
guess
there be a cost?
No. I guess maybe for some of these people that are on here today, if you have any idea how many of, let's say, these marketing brochures you would want to reach out to your clientele and get those numbers to Laura, that will be helpful. Yes, my organization is willing to act as a conduit, and we believe we could get out, 100,000 of these, or 50,000 of them, or 30,000 of them, or whatever it might be. And I think that's good information for everybody to have. Barry, what else?
Senator, if I may, Laura, do you already work with a printer?
I don't.
we work with Spectrum Marketing often for all of our materials. And so if you had an idea of, for example, when you said that there are some materials that come from other states, and even if you were to print them and kind of mock them up a little bit, like on paper, and if I could certainly send that to them and say, what would be the cost for a redesign of this, but also how many copies, and they could give us a quote that you could then use for your request, as long as you knew how many you needed or that you wanted, and then, what in fact the piece would look like. I'm happy to punt that to them. As far as PSAs are concerned, we have some experience with that too. Matter of fact, we received some money from NERF to do, have some exposure around mandated reporting. And so you can have PSAs run, certainly pro bono through WMUR, but you're in a very unusual rotation. It kind of throws you in where there's availability. Post-election, there's more availability now, which is actually, the timing is good. But we actually are doing a spend with WMUR for the first time. And as far as a budget is concerned for, a fairly decent rotation, we're doing a $5,000 per month spend for a campaign that's going to last 3 months. So that kind of gauges a little bit of, if you were going to have some awareness of this program being on MUR for a 30-second spot, you could probably get MUR to create the spot for you. We ended up going with a different agency to do that, and we actually have produced something that isn't ready yet, but it'll be ready in a couple of weeks. But if that gives you any kind of idea of a budget, if you $5,000 a month would give you, purchasing some nice time on WMUR. There's a reason that auto dealers and others have commercials, and so we should have access to that same ability to make these programs aware to families. So,
Joy, thank you. That's very, very helpful. Laura.
So I just want to remind people that the public awareness piece of our ask to the governor was only one piece, that we're hoping for some direct support for hungry families. And so, I think public awareness is important, but direct support at this time is really also incredibly important.
I second that emotion. I was just about to say the same thing, that it is really important that the families know that the programs are out there, but I don't think we want to, for 1 minute, lose focus that we have very hungry families out there, and I'm getting calls from more and more of them every day, especially my grandparent caregivers who are sacrificing meals themselves to try and pay other bills at this point. So we need to keep the pressure up on and getting more money into their hands or some way for them to be able to buy food.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I guess I misunderstood. I thought that the last call was that there were resources there and we just didn't know how to get them in the hands of the people that needed them, and that they were going untapped. So sorry about that.
Oh, Joy, I was
not focused approach. And I guess the question is, what about dollars for other parts of this need or request? Is it possible to put dollars to that component as well?
Yeah, yes, I think it's possible to budget that. I mean,
And I know you requested some help for the Department of Health and Human Services, and I don't know, Maureen, if you could speak to that.
When I met with Laura, we were talking about the website, but as far as if there were dollars that could be used to provide a supplemental benefit, it is not that difficult of a programming on the programming side to do. So that was really the length of our discussion as far as if they were issued, is it easy to administer to a client? And at this time, we believe it would not be that difficult to do.
That's good to know. Okay. Other thoughts and comments?
Senator, just back to the one pager or brochure or whatever we end up coming up with, if it can be made available electronically. I can't speak for school districts, but they might be able to do some printing, just providing the material to them that they can print copies as needed. We can share the content on our social media platforms in terms of helping to, get the word out and sharing it on Facebook and Twitter and pushing it once there's a final product.
Great.
I was going to say the same thing. There's a few different communication channels that schools have these days. Some of them communicate via email. Actually, a lot of them communicate via email to households now. Some of them have a global telephone system that they will send out communication, and they could kind of preempt a letter that the family is going to receive in the email by doing a global telephone communication about that letter. So there's a number of different ways, but I think that electronic and sending them the actual document or letter, they typically will be able to print them off if we just send out the item electronically.
Okay.
May I just jump in as a quick backtrack as to what would be included on this document? I know we talk about school meals, pandemic EBT, SNAP enrollment, some of these really important federal programs. And then, of course, we all work for other programs that we want to be highlighted or advertised. So all of them are different. I was hoping just maybe for clarifications. Does like PEBT, does that still need to be thought about as far as how it's going to be administered, or is that already up and running? Can we start advertising it? Oh, I think Maureen, you might be.
Yeah, I could speak to that. We are still waiting for guidance from FNS on what the structure of PEBT will look like. So nothing has changed since we had our last meeting. When the guidance comes in, it'll be reviewed by the SNAP EBT team at DHHS. And then we will be meeting with the Department of Education, Sherry White, and possibly Christine Brennan. And then we'll have to decide an approach to it if it's something that the state chooses to do. We do know that it's also including childcare in this iteration. So there may be an additional third party that has to be at the table as well. So again, really, we have not had any updates from the USDA FNS just yet. But we're all gearing up and, we're talking about ideas and we're looking at what happened in the first iteration and, what improvements we can make. And those discussions are happening today.
Elise, is that helpful?
It is helpful. It seems like we're moving really quickly on as far as like developing this outreach or public awareness, and sometimes looking at fundamentally if it's in place yet. It's important. We can't be advertising for the PEBT program if it's not approved or ready to go. So that's just my thought, trying to figure out what programs are we advertising for, what's already in place and working well, and not wanting to spend. I think PEBT would be really important to be on that document or that one pager or whatever it is, and not creating it without it. But at what point are we able to put it on there, or just go with what resources already exist?
Yeah, and I would imagine that PEBT will have the requirement of a public information campaign, which it has in the last two iterations. So.
And I agree, we don't want to get out ahead of ourselves and be promoting something that we don't have the framework in place for people to access. So, but the more we have ready to go, then the easier it will be to launch it when we sort of understand that it's the right time to go ahead. So Laura, has this been helpful to you?
Yes, and Joy in particular, I did not mean to suggest that I don't want your advice on the public awareness tools, but just to not forget that we're hoping also in this ask to help families more broadly. So if folks have specific recommendations as to the tools that we produce, feel free to send me an email.
Great. Okay, so anything else about this effort right now that people want to put on the table while we're all together? I'd just like to say that from my vantage point, it seems to me that one of the benefits of having this platform for all of us to share has made it easy and perhaps more possible to learn about what everyone is doing, what are the tools that are out there, how we can better coordinate going forward. And so I did ask Jen to send all of you the final report from the commission. And I think you'll know within that I did talk about the role that this commission has played in networking. And I'd just like to hear from all of you if you think that it has been helpful to come together to share information about whatever is the most critical topic as we move ahead to try to address the issue of child hunger in New Hampshire. I mean, maybe you're all talking to one another and just some of us aren't talking to you. I'm just not sure of that.
I think that this particular commission has done a great job at organizing. Sometimes when we all work, we get so busy in our own jobs that sometimes we don't always reach out to others. So I think that this commission has done a really good job in organizing the particular topic and then having everybody come together to move forward.
Thanks, Sherry, very much. Other thoughts? Well, I think I've been very appreciative of your commitment to this commission. I think you all know that I'm not going to be chairing this in the future, and that will be left up to the powers that be in the next biennium, but you certainly have the charter to continue for 2 more years. And if anything, we know that issues around food insecurity, and particularly with regard to child hunger, are more and more critical. And so, I'd certainly welcome to find a way to continue to participate with you. And I'll look into how that might happen. But in the meantime, I just want to offer you all my thanks and how much I appreciate your input and your leadership as we're trying to address this problem for New Hampshire. So I guess with that, I don't know, would you like to come together again after the Gopher meeting and get a further update? We could schedule that now if you would like that. I don't cease my responsibilities until December 2nd.
So Senator, we do have a meeting scheduled for the 18th.
Great. Okay, we'll keep that, and even if the end, if there isn't anything to report. So the 18th is not next week, but the week after, right? I don't have my calendar open. So
That's correct. That's correct, Senator.
So we'll leave that scheduled for the time being. And Laura, I'll check in with you, I think, ahead of time to see if enough work has been done in some of the issues and questions and information that was raised today, that it's important for us to meet again. Okay?
Great.
Great. All right, well, with that, Thank you all very, very much and happy November.
Thank you for your leadership,
Thanks.
Senator.
Thank you.